Right, hi everyone. Welcome to a Sunday live stream here again every fortnight. As per my commitment to all you in the community, sharing what's going down in the world of Hammertown. I hope you like that little pun. Right, so as said, every fortnight I'm going to commit to a Sunday live stream, life, baby, and wife and work permitting. But this time I'm going to speak about the very exciting week we've had. Definitely have to say Astra Militarum is facing a bit of a renaissance. Both in 10th edition and most recently, we've got a load of new models coming. We're at the top of the meta, so things are looking pretty good. So I haven't played Guard now for 5 years. This feels like probably the best Guard I've been in that 5-year period. And if you've played longer, please tell me as well. I'd love to hear what you think of the current state of Guard. So yeah, we'll go through today the new miniatures which have been announced, the new codex which is coming. All the new models, and there's one I've actually forgotten about, which is the Rattling Kill Team, will be on pre-sale next week, and also the State of Guard, as per the statistics, the meta, some of the winning list from the World Championship, and then also my list I'm taking to a small RT next week, and so a lot of stuff to get through. So let's get cracking. So firstly, my channel, always going to do this. I cover all aspects of the hobby from the lore. So the most recent was the Cadian Kazkin. So I bring my military experience from many years ago and apply it to what I'd like to be one of them. It's then focused on the tactics of the game. So on the top right is a recent one I did on battle line units, and the focus on that video is actually how to use them. That's going to be a focus of several videos I do, which is actually how to use transports, how to actually use scions, for example. So if you're new or intermediate to the game, hopefully it can actually help you think how to actually use the unit as opposed to what do they just do. And then finally is the hobby aspect, which I do a lot of building videos, unboxing, also painting videos as well. Right, so let's get on to all the recent stuff, or the new stuff. So firstly, a good place to ground us, I think, is all the stuff which is coming off the range, the model range. Now, I'm showing the UK website, and this is always a good place to look, because obviously, given they're a UK business, you're going to see where their sort of inventory is heading. So anything which is sold out online, I can assume, and we can assume, is being removed from the range. So as you can see, all the Death Korp, which I think you already know, have all been basically discontinued. So interestingly, the Cyclops Demolition Vehicle, temporary out of stock, which probably means it's still available to buy. It just obviously has to be reproduced in the factory. You can see basically all the Death Korp have been out of stock online for a while now. So pretty much everything. Tech Pres Agency, I mean, you can get that from Mechanicus. But as we look for, okay, so we got the Macador Defender. All the Macadors have been replaced with the Heresy kits. You've got the Minotaur, which is going. Hades Breach and Drill, massive sad face for me because I've got two. I actually bought them both legit, can you believe, a couple of years ago when they were cool. The Macarius is going. The Gorgon, interestingly, is saying it's temporary out of stock, so it may come back. Likewise, a Thunderbolt. Obviously, this Lehman Russ kit as well. So you can see, okay, sold out online Macarius. Interesting, the Solar Auxilia is still going to be printed. So Slide Marbo will come, is obviously just temporary out of stock, likewise the Avenger Strike Fighter. And you can see then, again, the Macarius, the Crassus will go, the Praetor will go. Again, sad face for me because I bought a China cast one, but it's gone. It's a massive block of resin. And then more Death Korp. So yeah, there's obviously the Commissars going as well. That makes sense. We'll get more Death Korp, and the Jungle Fighters are temporary out of stock. And as you know, if you pay close attention to this type of thing, is Colonel Strachan, Iron Hand Strachan, and also Sergeant Harker are gone from the website. So a bit of a shame there with the Jungle Fighters, which does make me think maybe we may surprise soon, maybe with the Catechins. So let's hope. So obviously, all the Death Korp's been discontinued. A lot of the old resin four-draw kits are going. And again, from a business point of view, it makes sense they move more towards plastic, because if you just have one production line, it's easy to multiple lines of different materials. So again, if you think of a business perspective, that's why they're doing this probably. Cool. Now on to the actual new Whizzy Bang stuff. So as you all know, Death Korp of Krieg are going to get a massive facelift, and this is amazing. So to be honest, I'm not super pumped. Personally, I don't really see the appeal of Death Korp. Don't hate me. I more see the appeal of Cadian Shock, would you believe it, with Jungle Fighters. But to see these guys get new miniatures is fantastic, because they've been resin for a long time. And I know a lot of you out there are Death Korp of Krieg connoisseurs. So very excited to see this. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the rules come out. Now, I took the time to listen back to the actual announcement video they did. I think it was sometime this week or last week, where they speak about sort of like, they gave a couple of snippets on what the rules are going to go. And I've taken some nice little notes here. So firstly, I'm going to scroll all over the place here, forgive me, but the Death Korp riders, from what the chap said, is that they're going to have the screening line rule will remain. So that is currently in the current rules. If enemy unit moves within 9 inches, they can basically make a reactive move of, I think it could be 6 or whatever their move is. And that is a very powerful tool. Now, the challenge with these models currently is their current data sheet's pretty lame in inverted commas, but they did say in the video they're going to all have power sabers, so power swords. They're going to have assault carbines as well. And I would expect them to get a bit of a glow up as far as their rules are concerned. So great to see. And I'm glad I actually own 10 of the resin ones. So I'll be excited to actually use them. But certainly it'll be interesting to see how they sort of manage these, because, compared to Attila and Rough Riders, their current data sheet isn't that great. But if you think back to 9th edition, when they had like a 5-up Feel No Pain, that's when they were pretty tasty. Would you believe it, back in 9th? So it's interesting to see what they do here. They look amazing. I think a cool detail they called out in the video is that they're all the horses are actually VAT born. They don't have names, they've got numbers. And a detail I sort of was always puzzled about with the old resin kit was like the actual horsey hooves are like claws. So it turns out that's intentional, that they're that diabolically sort of predispositioned and set up and grown in the VATs. They're actually got claws, not hooves, which is just really tying into the overall aesthetic of this very depressing story of 40k. But you can see here again, we're really getting some great models here. These two look absolutely fantastic. You got the assault carbine put there, although it's probably usually back. I never ridden a horse only once or twice, but like usually the assault carbine's further back, but I guess that's for close reach and you can zap away. And then this is just a fantastic pose here. This is absolutely fantastic, showing just like spear some heretic or some Xenos. So really good looking kit coming for us with the Death Korp riders. Cool. Then on to the Grenadiers. Now this I'm excited about. I know a lot of you out there are very excited to see these guys come back. Now what they've said is they're going to scout 6 and they get the grenade stratagem for free, which is absolutely amazing to get. Now what else they'll get, we'll have to obviously see. We'd assume they're going to have a 4-up save, probably like the Kazkin, the Scions, that type of thing. And then beyond that, they did sort of talk about the fact they're going to be a bit more focused on melee. So they've got trench clubs. So maybe they're going to have 2 attacks, probably AP, probably strength 4, given it's a bit of a nasty thing, maybe AP 1. But certainly be very interesting to see what they do with these. I think a scout move unit, which is slightly more aggressive, could be quite welcome for us, gives us an extra bit of, another tool in the toolkit. Although looking at their weaponry, grenade launchers, flamers, and we can assume this is basically like a Cyclops demolition vehicle, so it does mortal wounds, we'll have to see, obviously, to see what their rules are. But potentially with the current loader, is it going to do much damage against things? Probably not. But of course, we need to see what the Widex codex gives us. Yeah, but again, these guys look fantastic. Scout move 6 gives us another option. So currently we've obviously got jungle fighters. We've got the Scout Mara with the jungle fighters in a Chimera, and then also the Scout Sentinel. So to have an additional scout move unit, which will probably have a bit of sort of beef behind it, will be quite welcomed. If these guys have infiltrate as scouts, that would be fantastic, because if you've ever played Space Marines, which I'm sure you have, their scouts can scout move and infiltrate, which means you can basically do super jank. You can infiltrate them close to your opponent's deployment zone. If you go second, you scout moving back behind cover. Job done. Although I think actually, if we zoom in enough here, it's all blurry. You can see there, it just says Scout 6. So unless there's something else, which again, they've cleverly blurred it all out, maybe they can just sort of, that's probably all they can do, maybe. Cool, so very exciting there. Got some comments there. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So someone said, shame about the Macarius. It's by far my favorite guard tank, especially the Vanquisher version. Yes, well, I think, what they do with the Macarius and all that type of thing, maybe they bring it back. So it could be quite good. I can see more orders for Anvil. Shaka heads for my future ones. Yes, Yeah, and a lot of kit bashing is going to occur. And then someone's also said scout plus grenades. I imagine models a little. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. So the engineers will basically be maybe like a melter mine. Good point. So probably D3 models or 2D3 models, whatever it is, or D6 models if it's a monster or vehicle. So that could be quite good. Yeah, but cool. So what have I got next? Now the artillery. So again, like these look amazing. Now the caveat personally for me is I still have the field ordnance battery in the Cadian launch set from over 18 months ago still to build. So I'm a bit sort of like, Now the reason why I'm a bit not super pumped about this is that given they've just cut indirect, now this is all going from a competitive mindset, yes. But if let's take that back. So these look freaking awesome. Again, these massive bases, diorama like no tomorrow, and it looks like they've actually done a bit of research on how these type of things would work. Again, I'm no artillery expert. I served in the infantry, but there's a bit of attention to detail to this type of thing. They actually got a chap here loading around into the chamber, that type of thing. Loads of sandbags set up, and again, it's not perfect. But the one thing I'm a bit puzzled about is why this bloke is approaching it with his spanner. Anyway, details. But this looks amazing. Yeah, let's be real. And you've even got, looks like there's a map there. Is that a map? Awesome. That's really cool. So again, having only done a little bit of stuff with like direct fire weapons and light up, not even artillery, but they've sort of marked out their boundaries and the ranges of the specific things, because I assume this is a short range weapon, more shorter range than the siege cannon. And again, the fantastic looking one is then this bad boy here. So this is looking very nasty. So whatever that's fine, looks pretty awful. And that is obviously a classic model, which I knew you could buy separately. So that is inspired obviously by the World War II Germans with the rangefinder telescope. So amazing looking detail. Again, like this may not be that competitive, but does it look amazing? Absolutely. Now they did say, and this is the thud gun. So basically all of the ones which have been removed, you can now get in the one kit. So they did say, I think these bases will be 130 mil. So I think that's pretty bloody massive, which then ties into the challenge the field ordnance batteries have, which is they take up a lot of real estate at the back. It's hard to move them around, if not move around them. So unless these put a lot of DACA out there, may not be a meta choice. But again, fantastic detail. You got these wheel chalks here, which is cool to see. Although being again super critical, we've got a platform like that. Unless the entire thing can roll backwards, that wouldn't make any sense. But again, I'm no artillery man. I said to the infantry as a ground pounder. But what I think from a meta point of view, competitive point of view, that type of thing is that given they've just really cut indirect for guard, which I think they needed to, will these be hitting anything but fours? And I think we shouldn't, because that will spoil the game. But as we'll talk about the codex that's coming, they have said there's going to be like a siege regiment. So what they do to keep sort of artillery as a viable option without making it super suppressive to your opponents will be interesting to see, yeah. But the key thing here is that it's probably going to replace the Earthshow carriage battery, which I think is completely gone from the website. So that resin beauty, which I've got 3 from China cast, has disappeared completely. Likewise has the Medusa carriage battery. So it looks like, this will be maybe the Earthshow carriage battery. This will be the Medusa carriage battery, in inverted commas, and this will be that's a new one. And this is obviously the thud gun. So there'll be probably like a strength 5 AP 1 damage type of thing, but like maybe 2 or 3 D6 or something. So again, these look amazing. I'm not gonna sort of go against that, but what they do what they'll give the actual army, I'm not sure, because we've already got a lot of artillery, to be honest. Cool. Then is the Lord General. Now, I don't know much about this bloke's story, but I just know he's an absolute hard ass. And I think the cool thing they said in the reveal is that the officer corps in Death Korp is chosen from the Death Riders. So the Death Riders typically above average intelligence, and then it's from these guys that the actual sort of officer corps is picked. So this guy will be a veteran of charging across the battlefield with a lance or a saber, slicing dudes to bits and ramming a melter spear into a tank or something. So it'll be an absolute hard ass. Now, whether we have to see, and this is all part of the excitement of it, is that how different he'll be to Lord Solar will be obviously the big question. Lord Solar currently is a fantastic pick given what he does. But given the new codex is coming, we'll have to see what the difference is. But maybe Lord Solar just drops off in the new codex. You never know. But the cool thing they have said with this model is that he will stand back up. So just like Rabute Gulaman or some of the sneaky Aldari characters, on a tour they stand back up. Will he be on full wounds? Let's hope. But the cool thing they have said is that the horsey actually has been rebuilt several times, which is very clinical and quite disturbing to think that this horse has died in combat. They brought it back to life. But you can also see some of the fantastic poses you've got here. So again, pointing the boys off in the direction of the enemy, or actually, like again, we're very lucky in Guard now. We had some fantastic releases, obviously with Acadians, Gaunt's Ghost. The quality of our catalog now is getting very nice, very nice. This looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, again, the base looks just, I think, So, he's going to be an interesting choice again versus Lord Solar. Will he beat Lord Solar for looks? Absolutely. He looks absolutely badass. So what he actually will do on the tabletop will be interesting. But one thing they also said is that he will do dev wounds when attached to the Death Rider squadron on the charge. So currently, the Death Korp Rider rules are pretty mediocre. They're obviously going to give him a bit of a rev up. So I assume that looks like a smelter spear, which is good. So if you've got dev wounds on the charge or melter spears, for example, that could get pretty bloody nice. So very excited to see what this miniatures rules look like. But again, I'm starting to become more competitive as I play more, and that's sort of the way I'm enjoying it. But I cannot debate. These look amazing, and we're getting very lucky with some fantastically well done miniatures. So massive thumbs up to the Games Workshop design team. Okay, the other one. Let me just check the comments before I go on. Cool. Someone is saying, yep. Dakja is saying that 130 more base size for the artillery pieces, which is the same as a Granite Clean one. Okay, that's massive. That's really big. So, good point. Cool. Then the other new fancy kit is there. Well, there's actually two more. Is then the new command squad. So what they've said here is a commissar, and interestingly, which is a really nice detail, it's a commissar cadet. With then a medic man. This looks like Master Vox, and then also the regimental standard with a guy with a special weapon. So how they'll manage, what they'll do with the Commissar Cadet will be fascinating to see. And they sort of hinted at what potentially could do. We don't know, is that obviously in the Death Korp, bravery is not a problem. It's the expenditure of human life is a problem. So if you listen to one of the novels they've done, it speaks about a commissar basically have to sort of say, look, blokes, you've got to cool your jets. You literally throwing blokes against the wall for no reason. So how they'll manifest that in the rules will be amazing to see. I think they're doing a very good job of bringing it to life. The law with fantastic looking miniatures with all sort of the background detail, but how they bring that to life in the rules will be obviously where they can sort of show their ability. So. This is great. I think this servo skull is ridiculously funny. It's actually got a servo skull to write and a servo skull to hold the parchment, which is just, shows how grim, dark things are. And I think it's an honor, isn't it, in the law, is that if you become a servo skull, that's an honor because you're serving the Imperium beyond death, which is pretty grim to think about. And they also said he's basically a medic now. How they bring his medic rules to life, which actually make it quite interesting, which is obviously something to see because obviously currently the medic in the command squad is a 6-up feel no pain, which arguably isn't that good in the wider Death Korp's D3 model. So what they do for this miniature will be very interesting to see, and likewise the cadet as well, the commissar cadet. So looking amazing. And I do like that. Looks pretty easy to paint because I definitely find and that's quite a big standard. It's quite a big flag, isn't it? Cool. Okay, the final one is then the heavy weapon team. So this obviously replaces all of the old heavy weapon teams. You can see down the bottom here, you've got loads of options. Heavy bolter, las cannon, stubber, and autocannon. And then interesting, the mortar team. So what they've obviously gone for is the heavy stubber, a las cannon, and a heavy flamer. So it looks like we're getting less options. It's cool to see. Very inspired by World War One, I believe it is, World War Two, where they had sort of like, I think it was World War, I don't know which World War it was, but I think it was World War Two, where they had like weapons on, I think the Soviets did, yeah, have heavy weapons on little like carriages you could push around. So it's only a single bloke crewing it, which would be challenging, but then it's got like a helper as well. So how they sort of bring to life that assistant gun will be interesting. Now, I think of all of these, the one they did give a bit of a hint on is that the heavy flamer will be 18-inch range at strength 5 AP1 2 damage, which makes this pretty bloody scary. Yeah, so that would be better than the Hellhound flamer. And what they do with the Hellhound, we'll have to obviously see. But 3 of these, strength 18, probably D6 5 1 AP2 means Overwatch would be terrifying. Now, again, these will be toughness 3, probably 2 wins, 5 up save. But if you rapid ingress these boys into a threatening position, push them forward 9 with an order, suddenly your opponent's copying 3d6, I'm assuming, 5 1 AP2 2 damage, ignoring cover because it'll be torrent, we can assume. So this will be very, very interesting to see what they do with these, because currently, you may or may not agree, is heavy weapon teams currently, from an overall competitive point of view, the only one who really uses mortars, because simply they're just too squishy and, they hit on fires most of the time. But throw on a heavy flamer, which is the profile I've mentioned, it suddenly becomes pretty tasty. Pretty tasty. Yeah, so definitely ingress these guys, push them forward. You can imagine them sort of picking up the rear thing here. They've got handles there, which is cool. So you can imagine 2 of the blokes picking up one side, it's running it forward, plonking it down, and so yeah, they're doing a great job with these kits. I think they're really, I don't know if they consult military dudes and say, hey man, what would you do? It'd be cool if they do, but yeah, it's interesting. So twin-linked heavy stubber, I'd assume would be the least best of the pick, because it's probably going to be like, I don't know, 6. It'll be probably the standard profiles will be 36-inch rapid fire 3, 4, 0, 1 twin linked. So anti-infantry, and you don't need that because you've got las guns. But again, these look absolutely amazing. I love these over-the-top magazines, like some all sort of flat cannon, just like bolting those things and then daggering away and taking them off. So again, these kits look fantastic, and you got this bloke who's just a candle waiting to go off with his fuel on the back as well. So bloody excellent. Let me check the chat for any reflections. Okay, a couple more questions. Okay, so Rising Rune Lord said, Guard are great at the moment. The 9th edition with codex was a good time. Missed the psychic phase. Okay, fair enough. Captain my own psychic the head by the commissar because the demons in that war. Okay, good. Yeah, feel no pain on the command squad. Oh, good point. The Death Korp Krieg Marshal is going away. Good point. So if you don't have that, you lose the 5-up feel no pain option. So I wonder what they do with that. Yep, okay, Rising. I don't need new Krieg. I have artillery, infantry. I'm unimpressed by cavalry and 10th. I still want a Krieg box. Yes, I know. And I will probably buy the launch kit because I want to get the codex early because I'm not excited. I'll probably sell all the stuff. So get in touch. We can do a deal. Heavy weapon teams seem great with that flamer. 3d6. Yep, that's pretty strong. Absolutely, Stephen. Yeah, flamer is going to be bloody scary to go into. Yeah, cool. Krieg flamers and chimeras. Good point. Rising Rune Lords. Yeah, plonk those boys in the back, and given it's firing deck 2, doesn't say anything about heavy weapons, can't do that. So you're going to have that. That is the pick. Well done. That is fantastic. Put these boys in chimeras, drive them around, and just toast people. Fantastic. Well, oh, that's great. Very good. Okay, right. Now, on models, before I jump into the codex, is... they've also said, you can only see in this here, there'll be a new combat patrol box, which is a bit puzzling. Will be a command squad, Kazrakin, and 2 squads of Rough Riders. So maybe they're going to be amazing in the new book, but I wouldn't buy that personally. Partially because I don't need them. But maybe Rough Riders do become good. And, as one of you said, artillery, cavalry don't seem great in 10th edition, but maybe you and I aren't using them properly because they do pop up in winning lists. So maybe it's an application problem, and that's for me as well, yeah. Because I keep looking at them, I'm like, there has to be something with Rough Riders because you often see blobs of 10, and obviously you ingress them and they come into things, but I'm not massively convinced that their melter weapons will blow up tanks because you've got Lance, you're wounding on 4s on the charge, but wounding on 4s is wounding on 4s. You'll be hitting on 2s if you give an order, that type of thing. But anyway, so interesting this one here. I'm not super excited about this simply because I don't need the models and I don't really see the synergies here. But Combat Patrol is obviously for newer players, so a really fast-moving, hard-hitting one. And the other one to remember, which just struck me, is that the Rattling Kill Team, it will be on pre-order, I believe, next week, which means their rules will drop probably the week after next. Now, what they do with these little furballs will be, again, interesting to see, because if they do what they do with Aquilons and make them amazing, oh boy, eBay is going to be busy. Now, I have no idea what they're going to do with these models. I mean, maybe they get Lone Op. Okay, so they could probably end up being just like Gaunt's Ghost here, like Lone Op, Infiltrate, Stealth, loads of precision weapons, probably some mortal wounds, maybe from the little cool trip mines, although these probably will have no interaction at 40k, just like the Aquilons, the servo shooter gun is just a token. It does not. It's just a sergeant's weapon. But what they do with these little furballs will be amazing to see, because I think Rattlings is part of the lore which doesn't get much attention. I think I've only listened to one audio book in the invasion of Cadia, where some Rattlings were shooting some Chaos Space Marines, and then they got stomped to death. But what they do with these little furballs will be fascinating. You've got these little blokes here with his little repelling kit, and lots of snipers and obviously explosive weapons. So probably Infiltrate, probably Scout, maybe. Now, if they're 100 points for that, they're probably replacing Gaunt's Ghost, albeit, again, you can do some potential jank given there's 10 bases there. Now, does the Doggo get his own rules? Probably not, but if that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 miniatures with probably 4 tokens, yeah? So, again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with these. Although I get the impression from the Aquilon rules, and if you've heard different, please tell me, but it sounds like the Kill Team, rule team wrote the rules for the Aquilon models, and then the 40k team are like, what are you doing? These rules are crazy. Like, this is not how... Anyway, so maybe they learned their lesson and the rules will be a bit more sort of like cool, but interesting to see what these little furballs get. Rightio. Okay, back on to the actual codex. So, as said, the codex will be released in the launch kit. So you're going to have to basically spend a load of hobby dollars and buy all this stuff here. Now, to be fair, this looks pretty good, although I've actually got most of the... Well, I've got 2 squads of Death Riders. So you're going to get the artillery, you're going to get Lord Horseman, you're going to get the engineers, and you're going to get 2 of the 5-man horse squads. And then you get the fancy artwork. Now, from what they've said on the actual codex, it's actually not a lot of this was released, was said, but then they said there'll be 5 regiments. There'll be the combined arms, which is what you've currently got now, Siege, Assault, Hammer of the Emperor, which is Armored Company, and a Recon, which will basically be Stealth. So there'll be 5 regiments, which matches the other codexes which have been released. And I think of those, so, if they keep the combined regiment, which we've currently got as it is, that's a very solid set of rules. Yeah, so lethal hits into monsters of vehicles and non-monsters of vehicles of infantry is a really good set of rules. To be fair to them, it's got multiple applications. Additional sort of lethality is always welcome. Now, thinking back to the 9th edition book, is that when they get, and if you can remember back, the 9th edition codex had obviously what's called combined arms. I think it was called Hammer of the Emperor, and that actually was a rule set they kept from before they had the codex. So it was like a new rule they released for Guard, because Guard was sucking so bad through 9th, that they kept that sort of index rule for us into the book. Then you had loads of other options, as you know. You could choose your own adventure, choose like 2 different ones, and potentially from that lesson, the worry is that the combined regiment rules were so good from the index into the 9th edition codex that most of the competitive players just played that combined regiment rule. So that's a watch out, is we could actually inherit that thinking, is that the combined arms, which, as I said, is very good, is the best of all of the 5 regiments, which would be a bit of a shame. So they said the siege one is basically probably going to be focused on Death Korp, and they did call out that regiment can shoot into combat. Now it's interesting because now been following this for quite a few years. That's nothing new, because shoot into combat was the Valhallan stratagem from the 8th edition codex, and I think even in 9th edition you had a stratagem for that. Now, if your entire army can do that, that is quite interesting. But then the way they would manage it is that if you say, you're hitting on 3s, and if you roll any 1s, those shots go into the friendly target. Now, from a competitive point of view, thinking of how you would engineer that scenario, you maybe some charge and some not jungle fighters, some Death Korp infantry into something, tag it up. But they'd have to survive until the next turn for that to have benefit, if it makes sense. Because if you charge them in your turn, you tag something nasty, let's say another tank, it's then got a turn of shooting, and are you going to charge in a Lehman Russ battle tank into combat, tag it, and then risk your own dudes blowing up your own tank? Maybe you are the Death Korp, so you're crazy like that. But that's certainly got a bit of flavour. Assault, they said, will be a lot of mechanised, which is great to see. Now, again, what they do for mechanised would be fascinating. It had me thinking, will it be the assault ramp work rules on chimeras? Could we see some surprises come through with like the Gorgon coming back, or the Crussus? I think it is. Like, would they do little secret releases for this type of thing? But I don't actually know. And again, I'm not obviously in the rule team, but how you bring to life mechanized, or maybe it's like the Drukhari, so where they debust, they get 4 rerolls on wounds or something like that. So that could be quite good. And then Hammer of the Emperor, and the one little snippet they gave away is that tanks can drive through terrain. Now, I don't know if it's a stratagem or just be a broad rule, but if that's a broad rule, that's wild. So it should be a stratagem, and probably you have to pay probably 1 or 2 CP, drive through walls. Maybe you got to take like a battle shock test when you drive through walls, but I think that would really be awesome to see, because it does feel quite weird in the current rules. And again, they've got to keep things streamlined that tanks can't drive through walls, because in reality, if it's just like a house like I'm living, they'll just drive straight through if they have to get to the enemy. Yeah, so very, very interesting. And lastly is then they've spoken about recon, which will manifest itself in basically an army-wide stealth rule, which is okay. Stealth is good. -1 is always very solid. That probably would be tying into Gaunt's Ghost maybe. So one thing to watch out for with like this type of thing is that the 8th edition codex versus the 9th, we lost a lot of lore, lost a lot of the flavor, and potentially we're going to lose even more flavor coming into the 10th edition book. Now, again, I'm pretty balanced. I'm like quite heavy into the competitive scene now. I like the miniatures and the lore I respect. But I do think we're really losing that, because I think one of you mentioned Vestroyan in the chat. It's like, that's just history now. You just got the miniatures you can buy on eBay. If you own them, they look amazing. But how you bring that regiment to life in the rule set, you can't really anymore. So that's we're losing some of the flavor that were the good old days of 8th edition, I think, which probably was the last edition where things were quite tasty. Now let me check the chat for any reflections on this. We've got Tank Commander Glenn in the chat. Hello, Callum. Good to see you, mate. Evening, Commander. Someone is saying Thud guns, haven't seen them for a while. The 2nd edition version had 4x1 blast templates. Oh, tasty. Toshiba, hello. Nice to see you. Yes, and Dakja, you've got onto something about the signed detachment. I'll speak about in a second. Okay, cool. Yeah, and good point you've also made is that with the stratagem to move through walls, if the vehicle physically is too big to actually finish outside of the terrain piece, then it actually can't do it. So, yeah, good point. Things like the Bane Blade would never do it because it physically gets stuck on the terrain. So, could be good for chimeras and Lehman Russ battle tanks, but we'll see. But yeah, so very, very exciting. This is great because it's going to come in the middle of winter in the UK, so I'll be saving up my hobby dollars to buy this launch set. Do I need all these miniatures? No. Do I want this codex early? Yes. So very excited to see what comes. what comes, what may. But I think, across everything, they're probably going to give Death Korp a bit of a rev up, so we can expect these units here probably should be decent. I'm unclear about how they sort of make artillery good, because again, hitting on fours is hitting on fours. Again, from a competitive point of view, they're not going to sort of break the bank. But the one I think potential has genuine interest potentially is the engineers, is as a scout move with a bit more beef behind them, doing mortal wounds. They can throw grenades for free. They could probably got like a melter mine or a cyclist demolition vehicle. Are they shotguns or grenade launchers? I think there could be shotguns. They're pump action shotguns, which they must be super heavy because they've got like the drum magazine. So I think this probably is the pick of the litter from the launch set. And then, as said, some of you also said that the heavy weapon team with a flamer will be very, very tasty. So cool. Yes. Okay. Cool. So hopefully enjoyed that little review. I'm very excited about all that new stuff, and I'm going to waste loads of money early next year. Okay, now on to the next thing, which I think is cool to talk about is, as you may know, for Christmas, Grotmas, they've called it, every day in December, there'll be an advent calendar, which is new detachment rules, which I think is amazing. And this is a lot of effort by the rule team, because you can think, if these blokes are busy writing codexes, doing balanced data slates, and doing this every day of the month, they would have done this obviously the last couple of weeks of my months to build up for it. That's a lot of mental effort. So massive thanks to them for doing that. Now, I'll go over this quickly, but I'm no Death Card connoisseur, but as far as the Puss boys are concerned, and I've spoken to a few people on WhatsApp and also read some other articles, is that broadly speaking, this is a rule set is decent, although you basically have to bulk play Plague Marines and Poxwalkers and also Death Shroud Terminators, because a lot of, obviously everything else doesn't benefit. So Mortarion doesn't benefit, all the Rhinos don't benefit, all the other vehicles don't benefit. But if you go heavy into Death Guard infantry, which is genuinely terrifying if you played into Death Guard, this would be very tasty. So Scout Move 5 beats no Scout Move at all because they're quite slow. And then -1 hit permanently is also very good. And from what I understand, the wider rules as well, like I think there's a stratagem where basically you get tank shock, you get impact mortals. I can't even pronounce that, onslaught, but things like jump pack assault troops from Space Marines, they do impact mortals. So this could be very, very nasty. So I think, again, I've only seen a little bit. The general consensus is that this is not as strong as the current index detachment, but it's very, very good. Now, as per one of you said, it'll be super duper great if we see Scions feature. So my bet, and the pretty obvious bets, is a Scion detachment and maybe a Catagen Jungle Fighter detachment. Although, as per what we just saw on the website, is all the cool Jungle Fighter stuff is either discontinued or temporarily out of stock, so waiting to be reprinted by GW. So then that probably points to the Scions getting a new detachment, which would be great because, again, from what they've said for the new codex, we've got combined arms, we've got siege, assault, which is mechanized, tank company, and recon. There's no mention of like drop assault or that type of thing. So that could be what they give us. So very interesting. Okay, let me check the chat for any reflections out there. Yeah, Tank Commander Glenn, absolutely. Oh yeah, so Dark Angels is tomorrow. I've also heard that as well. But then also, yeah, Scion Detachment will be out there. Oh, Mitch. Yeah, hey, man. Yeah, Saturday, RTT. I'll go through my list if you want to steal ideas, but I mean, it's not that revolutionary. Okay, so how long are we speaking? 38 minutes. Blimey. Right, okay. Now let's get on to the meta. So the sweaty meta. So these has been filtered since the 21st of October, which I think was after the balanced data slate, which was the 18th for the points changes. And here you can see Guard are nailing it a lot. Not as nailing them as much as Genestealer Cold or Death Guard. Well, actually, the same as Death Guard, but GSC obviously it's blowing people off the table. And remember always that this is all games played. Yeah. So if you use a tabletop battle app, which is a fantastic app to use, I massively recommend it. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's amazing to use, makes life so easy. This is every single game, everything from me paying Jamie and James recently this week through to you playing in tournaments. it captures that data. So casual and competitive. So you can see in the competitive world, we are one of the best armies out there. Now, the overall state of the meta, again, it is in a very comfortable place. So, ignore Death Watch, don't have actual rule set, but, mediocre Space Marines at 44, 45. Obviously a bit of love here. Mechanicus still need help. Chaos Space Marines, that's interesting. They've just sort of fallen off a cliff. Imperial Agents don't have actual rules. Then Thousand Suns, I know, having played Callum Alex, Mr. Wilkins, is that they are now so expensive, they don't have enough stuff on the tabletop. Like everything to get the Cabal points is so much points intensive that you literally have to put stuff out to do containment or deploy or establish locus. We're talking 400 points of points doing this, just like you don't want to be playing them. But yeah, so we are doing very well overall. And this really reflects me and Callum, Mr. Tank Commander Glenn's experience, is that we are winning a lot of games. Maybe we've both got better, Callum, which I hope, or our army is just way better. Now, I'm going to reflect on that as we go through the rest of this review. Okay, now on to statscheck.com. So this is taking purely tournament data and only tournaments with five games or more, and I think 30 players or more. So not, RTs and smaller tournaments. Now, again, we are crushing it. So you can see, what happened? Why did that do that? Something just happened. Yep. Okay. You can see 54% GSC nailing it. So, they've got 60% win rate, which is getting pretty, that could be Aldari territory. Yeah. So they've obviously done, I don't know what GSC do besides regenerate and got loads of dudes, but they've obviously done something which is making it a bit weird. Now, Leagues of Votan, where are the dwarfs in the casual scene? So 54%, where are dwarfs? Weird. So Votan aren't as strong in the casual wider scene, but are very strong in the tournament scene. But something to look at, which is this column here, that is event wins. Yeah, so you can see, like, we are just winning a lot. Obviously, so are GSC. Necrons are winning, like, some tournaments as well, but a lower win rate. But again, we are in a very good spot, a very, very strong position. Now, the potential difference between sweaty, let's call it sweaty meta, which is tournaments, and less sweaty meta, which is all us playing casual games, is that having looked at loads of winning lists and loads of top placing lists, they all have Aquilons in their lists, and we'll look at some winning lists in a moment. But getting hold of them still is quite hard because you've got to eBay and get like a split kit from someone. But actually, also something I missed in the Sunday preview is that going on pre-sale will be the box set. So if you do want to actually get hold of Aquilons enough to go on eBay, you can get them in the next couple of weeks, which is cool to see. But again, we are really doing very well as an army. Again, we're experiencing a renaissance. This will be the best Guard has been in years. I don't know if it was better than what it was in the back end of night when we had the Kasrikan bomb with like mortal wound explosions everywhere. But we are in a very strong position. Very strong position. So go Astra Militarum. Cool. Oh, yes. Good point. So I missed a point. Someone, again, Dakja, you're doing a great job here. Is that, they did say that the Rogel Dawn will have a tank commander alongside the Lim and Rust tank commander. So great. Thank you for reminding me. So it'll be great to see what they do with that. Although I'd say a Rogel Dawn looks more tank commander-ish than the other tank commanders, but that'll be cool if they can issue orders as well. So that would be fantastic. And yes, Chosen Man Smith, Bow Paints Minis. Temporary out of stock is discontinued. Absolutely, yes. So loads of the Death stuff, this stuff been continued. And mate, playing Tower next week. So I'll probably contact you about a game on Thursday night. Hopefully I can play Thursday night. Cool. So let's then go on to a review of the World Championships of Warhammer in Atlanta, I believe, in the US. So let's just check. So this is the best in the world from around many, many countries, which is great to see, sort of the reflection of the player base, and obviously loads of players from around the world flying into the US to play a couple of days of Warhammer. So how many players were there? 268. And a point I want to make about these gentlemen and ladies here coming last is, do remember that this is the best players in the world altogether. So a person I know well, Lewis Smith, who I interviewed once, Lewis Smith came 176. So you can see he got 3 wins and 5 losses. Yeah, so, you know, you could look at that and go, that's not that good. But do remember, as I said, everyone Lewis was playing and everyone that this person played in the bottom here was like a highly accomplished player. You're not playing, you know, some bloke who's played 5 games, for example. You are playing the best in the world. So just sort of call that, it's like, this must have been a lot of headaches because it was a lot of intense 40K. But anyway, so from that 268 players, let's search Astra Militarum. Okay, find Astra Mila. Okay, so there's 26 instances of this. So 26 divided by that. Fuck, is that 10%? No, it's 1%. Is that? Hang on, let me do my math. Let me embarrass myself. 26 instances. Oh, I think it's only 1% of the player base. Is that right? Yeah, I can do math. Yes, that's correct. 1% of the player base. Okay. No, 10% of the player base. Oh boy, this is embarrassing. I use spreadsheets. Okay. 10% of the player base was playing Astra Militarum, which does feel quite overrepresented. Yeah. So if we then look, and you can see, you might be able to see along the sidebar here where the Astra Militarum plays place. So there's a massive concentration as we sort of just go down. You can see John Lennon, an Art of War chap, first, John Russell, third, Bjorn, 6th, Wesley, 9th, Eldorado, 16th, Manuel, I'm going to mispronounce that, apologies, 23rd, you know, 33rd, 34th, like, you know, Edward, 43. So out of this, Guard are doing very, very strongly. So with all that being said and looking at the win rates we've just had, we can expect to have some pretty major adjustments coming. Will it be next Thursday maybe, or maybe the week after, whenever they got time to sort of fully digest the data? But with them looking at this, they're going to be like, right, the best games in the army right now, GSC and Astra Militarum. Now, what they do will be interesting as always. I think the one interesting dilemma they face is that our army rule is not broken. So if they adjusted our army rule, we'll be very, very surprised, because there's nothing wrong with the rule. Lethal hits, you know, into certain units as lethal hits. But as I played, I played Jamie, who plays Blood Angels, and I played James, who plays Drukhari, and is an amazingly good player. They're both good players. Is that I won those games both by about 5 to 10 points, maybe more against Jamie. But what won me those games is just I had loads of stuff left at the end. Against James, I lost lots. I had lots of casualties, because I went second and I went bottom of term. I literally just controlled 3 objectives at the end. And got lots of points anyway. But you know, I think we need some adjustments. The obvious stuff is going to be Aquilons. They're probably going to go at least 20 points, maybe 30 points, and I'd still take them. But then beyond that, it's always weird because they've spent so much time dropping our points on lots of units. So like Limerice battle tanks have got cheaper consistently. Boglins are now expensive. They then dropped Ogams to make them cheaper. Tank commanders have gone up. So, you know, it's quite like, and again, this is the challenge they face, is how they adjust this army, which is doing so well. Maybe it's Aquilon. So let's just look at some of the winning lists. And I've got Johns, well, 2 Johns, and also Bjorn. So Mr. Lennon, who is who actually came second. So Lord Solar, Silent Command Squad, a tank commander. Okay, everything we're looking at is nothing crazy. Yeah, again, if you play competitively, you know these units off by heart. Chimeras for the Scout Mera package, Hellhound. Yeah, and now where it got interesting is he took 3 Hydras. So at 85 points times 3, it's 255 points. Go Jeff for math. That is only 30 points more than a Lemon Rust tank commander with a Demolisher. So these are crazy cheap. Are they survivable? Absolutely not. They're only toughness 9, 3+ save, 11 wounds. But given their twin-linked autocannons against anything fly, the anti-fly 2+, is you can basically stack loads of shots with obviously stripping cover from a Hellhound. Suddenly, you know, you essentially an AP2 and not AP1. Fields of Fire stratagem becomes AP3, and lo and behold, you're actually going to start doing some damage because they're twin-linked. You reroll number, you reroll the wound roll. This is a very interesting combination. Now, and again, John obviously knows what he's doing. He's a very good player, but the only potential problem with this list for us amateurs like me is a car park problem. Yeah, you could basically just get a massive car park. And obviously, he didn't face a car park because he won loads of games, 1, 2, 3, 4, like fucking shitloads of games. But again, for the lesser experienced player like myself, that could be a problem, is the car part problem. Now, again, let's go forward to the most battle tanks ×2, autocannon Leman Russ, and then he's got 2 Aquilon squads and the 10-man Scion blob in with a command squad for the deaf blob of Scion. So I know from my team's tournament experience when I played Custodes and lost pretty comprehensively is that what I needed in that matchup was loads of dice. Follow me here, is that I put 2 Leman Russ battle tanks into 4 Terminators, and I killed 2, which was just wild. They're both hitting on 3s. I both got a decent amount of shots out of the cannons, but they just kept rolling 4-ups. But when you get rapid fire on 3 melt plasma guns, 3 melter guns, a hot shot volley gun, a grenade launcher, 2 plasma pistols, and loads of other DACA, you should defeat their invul save. So I think that the death ball is very, very strong. Now, so he's got Aquilons. Let's look at these 2 other gentlemen. Gaunt's Ghosts. Okay, Lord Solar, Tempestus Command Squad ×2, ×3, Platoon Command Squad. I think this one from memory was just like infantry spam. So a Chimera, Taurox Prime ×2. Very interesting. Very interesting. Attilan Rough Riders, Kazkin, Attache for the Deep Struck Denial, Rogel Dawn, Scout Sentinels, 1, 2 Aquilons, 5-man ×2 ×3. Jesus, 3 Tempestus Scion 5-mans, which probably means they're put in the Taurox Primes, which then when one of them debusses, they get full rerolls to wound. Well, they're doing it on 5-man won't do a lot, but again, obviously this guy knows what he's doing. But I mean, looking at these data, at these army lists, what would you adjust? What would go? Okay, Aquilons 20 points, and then obviously when you adjust points up, you take stuff out of list. Yeah, so if you put these up by 30 points, that's 60 points. So this gentleman has to lose 1 squad of Tempestus Scions. Is that going to break his list? Probably not. Let's look at John's list. Yeah, so if they put up by 60 points, he'd have to lose a Hydra, maybe. Yeah, is that going to break his list? I don't think so. So, knowing, and again, I don't know what your perspective is, but from our experience of seeing many balanced data slates, it takes many adjustments to adjust an army down from the crazy state. So, are Guard as crazy as Eldari? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think I don't know what you think, Callum, Tank Commander Glenn, but like I reflect on the games I've been playing, and they are predominantly because I've got more stuff. Yeah, so the Aquilons, I'm trying to think, they probably give me that little edge. And again, I'm not applying them properly, but I do think they're very powerful. If they go up by 30 points each, I'll still take them. That means I'd have to personally I'd have to probably lose an infantry squad. Would that break my game? No. So I think we're set to have a good while until the codex comes out, which could be amazing or terrible. We'll see. But I do think for most of the winter, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to have a pretty good run still for Astra Militarum. Let me check the chat for any good comments. Anybody say anything nice? Someone's asking. Oh, cool. Booked in. Okay, cool, Mitch. Someone's saying, hi, returning guard play. Is it possible to field a pure tank army in 40k? So interestingly, the new codex says there's going to be a specific set of rules for that. But I would say you can do it in the current game of 40k. If you're playing casual, absolutely. The one problem you'll face in competitive play is that because you need to do secondary objectives, we've got to actually do stuff. It's called an action. Would you want to be doing actions with a 55-point bunch of Catagen Jungle Fighters or a 170-point tank? Yeah, so the problem you'll face in the current way the game is played is you don't have enough stuff to do cheap things. And also tanks can't run through walls at the moment. It might change. But broadly speaking, I think you would struggle with a pure mechanized list because 40k is less killy in 10th edition, so you're not guaranteed to delete things because in the old days, if you could delete people off the tabletop, you'd win the game. They've got nothing left. But anyway, we'll see. Cool. Oh, yeah, so Callan's saying he would have put the command squads in the primes. Yeah, in the Taurox primes for the rerolls. Yeah, then you get sustained hits as well. And you absolutely can them. It's all about attrition and board control, which is winning us games. And then the other thing to reflect on all this is, and again, you can say it's sweaty meta, but like, given Guard have been discovered as a good army, you've got loads of top players. And again, if we go off like this year, we've got some of the world's best players choosing to take Guard, a tenth of the population in this little tournament, or this tournament, playing it. Is that if the best players pick up an army, naturally the win rate will go up because the best players are constantly holding up the rest of us who are doing well, if not that well. Let's check the last list. Bjorn. So he's got Ghosts, or Solar, Command Squad 1, Command Squad 2, Sly Marbo. Amazing. Fantastic. Tank Commanders ×2. Again, nothing here is crazy besides Sly Marbo. Chimeras, Hellhound, Battle Tank, Attaché for the mirror match, Rogal Dawn, Scout Sentinel, and only one Aquilon squad, and then the 10-man Scion Blob for the Death Ball. So Sly Marbo, I hope he gets some whizzy cool rules, maybe free Overwatch and reactive moves, that type of thing. But again, if they adjusted, if they put up the Aquilons by 30 points, would Bjorn have to lose much? Not really. So, and I was discussing also with James, who plays Drukhari, is that the way they could actually sort of really impact Guard is if you adjust battle line. If everything went up by 5 points, this is only going to be 15 points in this example, but I think that's where we made it a bit of adjustment, because OC2 on these bodies is just amazing, as I'm discovering recently. So let's wrap this up soon. Let's then look at a list I'm going to take in an RT next week. It's only a small RT. It'll be probably like 25 players, but the list you can see. And again, there's nothing crazy here. So Lord Solar Leontis, Command Squad for the Scions, Platoon Command Squad with a Mortar, 1 Tank Commander, Cadian Shock to sticky in my backfield, 1, 2, 3 Jungle Fighters, an Infantry Squad with Mortar, 2 Chimeras, which will have the Scout move, the Scout Mirror, a Bulgrim Squad. And interestingly, in none of the 3 previous lists, they had that. So this is only 1 squad of 3. I still find it quite helpful. Heavy Weapon Team, which will mean I have 5 mortars across the list. So this either does absolutely nothing. If you play Power Armor or Custodians, it does 0, or it does loads. Although hitting on 4s is terrible. Into Drukhari, when I played James, I think I probably killed about 7 models over the course of 5 turns. And I should be killing loads of Dark Elder because they're squishy, but they either do something or do nothing, but in certain matchups it can be nasty. Hellhounds, with my one little bit of what I'm very proud of, is I use the Chem Cannon. I love the Chem Cannon because I typically find the early skirmish game is into other infantry. And, a bit of a balance would be in the multi-melter, so it could plink a lethal hit against a vehicle, but then Chem Cannon, you tell most opponents it's D6 +1, 12-inch range, and infantry 2+, at 2 damage, they will completely not do movement, maybe, because you could actually, cook things with Chem Cannons. Battle Tank, Demolisher Leman Russ, Auto Cannon Leman Russ, and Sweaty Meta of 2 Aquilons and a 10-man Scion squad. So the Demolisher tank, I adjusted the points around. I dropped it from a tank commander because I actually found the last 2 games I've played, I've got too many orders floating around, God forbid. And basically to sort of adjust the actual Chimera, I had to basically drop a tank commander from a tank commander to a demolition cannon. So again, nothing in this list is crazy, as you know. Everything that I'm playing here is pretty proven these days. And again, with the new book coming in January, February, I think it'll be very interesting to see how they bring to life, the Death Korp units, the engineers I'm excited about personally. But then just the other stuff out there. Like if you look at the sort of what's available currently for sale. Death Strike, have them at that good again? Who knows? Valkyrie, I hope so, because I've got one painted, assembled with LED lights in the back, looking badass. Got the dude pushing an ammo crate out the back, looks amazing. Wyverns, artillery, they'll always be a bit weird. Ogres, but I say that, but everything here is actually pretty decent. Primaris Psyches are good with Dev Wounds. Ursula's not bad. How do they make Bane Blades playable? Although for UKTC people like me and Callum, is that they probably just never will work because they can't fit through terrain. They can't drive through terrain. But then with the what they call it, Hammer of the Emperor, which will be tanks, if they can drive through terrain, that might help. But yeah, so it'll be, you know, and again, we're quite spoiled at the moment in inverted commas because we're doing very well as an army. But I do think it gets a bit sterile after all. If you're constantly playing the same stuff, because I'm playing the same units over and over again, it'll be good to just give, like, you know, maybe you can take infantry spam and suddenly that's quite decent. I haven't actually tried it yet, but maybe it's amazing. Or maybe, you know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Who knows? So I'm going to say goodbye. It's nice to see you all in the chat. Thank you for joining. This will be a fortnightly commitment I do every fortnight. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, whenever that'll be. And that'll be after I've played an RT, and that'll be after the balanced data slate. So in the meantime, obviously do loads of different videos. If you join the chat, obviously I focus on lore. So a recent one I did is what would it like to be Acadian Kazkin? And I reflect on that using my military service when I was a rifleman in the Australian Army. Building and painting tutorials, and then obviously tactics, which my most recent one was how to actually use battle line units. So this will be a bit of a focus on mine the next few weeks, if not months, as I'm going to do various videos which show you how to actually use the unit. Yes, how to actually use scions or hellhounds, for example. Less of a focus on what the data sheet is, but more how you actually use on the tabletop. And I do that via Tabletop Simulator. So, yep, so nice to see you all. Thanks for chatting with me in the chats. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks. So thanks to all my subscribers, patrons, and channel members. If you enjoy this and you want to support the video, the channel, just join my Patreon platoon, join the channel membership, like, subscribe, and share the video with your mates. So see you all in 2 weeks. Adios.